Hey everyone. You know, this past weekend I did a reply to Spinnernet and J-Dub on the Hell in the Cell situation that's going to take place this Sunday at the Hell in the Cell pay-per-view. Now, in my response, I basically stated the same thing that J-Dub stated. The fact that, you know, you can have a good match without blood, even though the Hell in the Cell is known for having blood. But as I mentioned, there was a match, let's not forget, a Hell in a Cell match last year at SummerSlam where it was just as exciting as all the other Hell in a Cell matches, probably the best in quite a while, and it did not have no blood. And a lot of people were saying that this Hell in a Cell on his Blog Talk Radio, and I'm pretty sure Spinnernet has heard this too, and Spinnernet has even said some things as well, that some feel as though the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view with the 3 Hell in a Cell matches in one night is going to kill the Hell in a Cell match. It's going to make it lose its prestige. But as I mentioned, I don't think that's going to happen. I think in reality it's actually going to help it, because if we saw, like I said in my Raw review, if what we saw at the end of Raw last night was any indication of what could happen with Orton and Cena going on top, then I think we may see some very good matches, Hell in a Cell wise. But that brings me to my next topic. That brings me to this topic. And that topic is, if everyone is saying that WWE is going to ruin the prestige of the Hell in a Cell, then why aren't they saying the same thing about TNA and Monsters Ball? Well, as I mentioned in my Hell in a Cell thing towards the end, it's all because TNA is doing something that I think a lot of fans are actually accepting and letting slide, if you will. See, TNA is basically subtitling the Monster Ball matches. I mean, already we've had 2 this year. One in the Impact Zone, one in Detroit, and one that's coming up in Irvine, California. Now, the one in the Impact Zone was known as was dubbed the first ever all knockouts Monsters Ball, and that was between Taylor Wilde and Daphne. About a month or 2 later, at Slammiversary, they had what was dubbed the first ever mixed tag team Monsters Ball, again with Taylor and Daphne, but this time with the addition of Raven and Abyss. Now, this month, coming up on the 18th, according to the advertisements, we're going to have a 3rd Monsters Ball, but it's going to be known as the first ever Hardcore Extreme Monsters Ball. In other words, what TNA is doing, to some, may seem like they're watering down or the overdoing the Monsters Ball, like WWE is doing the 3 Hell in a Cell matches in one night. But that's not the case. You see, TNA has kind of spread them out a little bit, and like I said, they sort of subtitled them. And basically what that subtitle means is, it's like, if you just say Monsters Ball, people know what you're talking about. But if you say first ever Knockouts Monsters Ball, people get the idea like, oh, it's going to be the Monsters Ball, but it's going to have knockouts. It's going to have women instead of men. The same thing with the mixed tag team match at Slammiversary. You put just Monsters Ball, they think, oh, I wonder what kind of monster, I wonder how violent it's going to be. But then when you put the dub in, well, not the dub, but you put the subtitle mixed tag team, they get the idea of, oh, it's going to be men and women. So they may not be as violent as they should be. Then you put in this upcoming one, you call it the Hardcore Extreme Monsters Ball, and you put Mick Foley against Abyss. Then you know if it says Hardcore Extreme, you're going to have probably violence up the ante. You see, a lot of people, what I'm saying is that a lot of people want to complain about Hell in a Cell, yet they don't complain about Monsters Ball, and it's because Monsters Ball is subtitled this year by different reasons it's happening. The different reasons, the different, stipulations. Like I said, they subtitled it with knockouts earlier this year, Slammiversary Mixed Tag Team, Bound for Glory Hardcore Extreme. what I'm saying is that, you know, some people, and I'm pretty sure anybody that listens to Spitternet, J-Dub, R-O-H Styles, and anybody else would agree on this, that it doesn't, that it really doesn't matter how many times you do it, as long as the one of them is one that you'll be talking about for a long time. That's, to me, how do I put this? To me, the Monsters Ball hasn't been really as violent these past 2 times this year. I think all that's been doing is building us up to what's going to happen at Bound for Glory. Because like I said, you have the Knockouts Monsters Ball. You know, you have them going through things, Daphne and Taylor, but yet they're not as violent as you would expect a Monsters Ball to be. You have the mixed tag team, and it's a little more violent than the previous one, but not as much because you have women in there along with the men. And yes, I give props to Daphne for being thrown onto the tacks. I give her props for that. But all that pales in comparison to what they're doing. You see, what they're doing is they're building up to what is being dubbed the Hardcore Extreme Monsters Ball. Now, I know what I'm probably saying doesn't make sense to a lot of people. Basically, what I'm saying in the end is, you know, you shouldn't complain at the fact that one company might be overdoing and killing a specialty match like the Hell in a Cell with a pay-per-view and 3 Hell in a Cells in one night. When you have in 1 year 3 Monsters, when one company you have 3 Monsters Balls, and you probably think the same thing, but then you realize that they're subtitled. That's right, they're subtitled. They're subtitled because of specific reasons. Like I said, because of the knockouts, because of the mixed tag, and now because you got Foley and Abyss and what is being dubbed Hardcore Extreme. Probably the most violent one we've seen all year, if not ever. So, overall, what I'm saying is that if you're going to complain about one company's specialty match being overdone, maybe you should think before you do that, because if you're not complaining about another company's specialty match being overdone, then what's the big deal? I mean, Monsters Ball was always reserved for like Bound for Glory, and yet we've seen it twice already this year. And the same. So, you know, if you're complaining about 3 Hell in a Cell matches in one night, and thinking that's going to ruin the prestige of it, think again. Think again. You know, I'm not trying to be mean, or I'm not trying to be rude or anything. I'm just trying to say, think before you say anything. Because if WWE, excuse me for a second. Okay, I got a little bit more time. Got that 10-minute, 11-minute thing with me. But, like I said, think before you say anything, because if WWE wants to have a pay-per-view which is dubbed Hell in a Cell, and headlined by 3 Hell in a Cell matches, then let them have it, because you never know what could happen, especially after what you saw at the end of Raw last night. So if you're going to complain about that, but not complain about 3 Monsters Balls from TNA, you might want to be careful about what you do, because the Monsters Ball is basically TNA's answer to Hell in a Cell. That's what it is. But that's all I have to say. You got any comments? Leave them. I'll talk to you all later.